now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questioning as we did prior. Dr. Schwinnesen, I'd like to focus on something here. Policy versus technology. What is our issue right now? Is it not enough technology? Is it not keeping up with the technology? As you mentioned, maybe we're being outmaneuvered in a lot of cases by the Russians, and the Ukrainians may have some information that we can learn from. Or is it a policy issue here as we protect the homeland, or is it both?
Yeah, I do think it's both. I think it's a combination of the two. I think we have created a policy thicket of bureaucracy that basically stifles the innovation space, right? I do think we have a technical know-how problem, or at least we know for a fact that Ukrainians have a technical know-how solution, right? And I think if we're able to reduce some of the bureaucratic barriers to innovation, allow people to tinker and experiment and learn at the operational military level, this needs to happen like yesterday, right? We can't do the same old business of doing a 2.5-year request for proposal and wait for things to come back. We just can't do this business as usual. We do not have that time.
As we sit here, you listen to the testimony. We currently have UASs flying over New Jersey. We heard from Mr. Smith in New Jersey that they were flying over Coast Guard vessels last night. How is this possible? Why are we not responding? What do we need to do, and what actions need to be taken?
Yeah, that's a very difficult one to answer. Of course, I can't speak for them, but I have a suspicion that people are frozen with fear of what would happen in an administrative situation in which they took action and they were punished for doing so. That they shot down a drone, God forbid, and the debris hit somebody's house, and all of a sudden they're on front page news. And so people are acting out of a sort of sense of self-restraint here, which is being promoted by our policy environment.
So when it comes to technology, we need to focus on our offensive technology, lessons learned in the Ukrainian conflict where they're leveraging UAS systems everywhere. We need to focus on our counter UAS technology, and our policy needs to improve in order to counter it and give the authorities that we need while protecting privacy of citizens here.
Yep, I would say so, absolutely.
I'll come back to you in a second. Mr. Baumgartner, what's the most catastrophic event in the energy industry, critical infrastructure, that we need to be thinking about and planning for to prevent?
I mean, luckily we haven't seen a significant incident. I think from an imagination perspective, certainly something with a payload like the gentleman from Tennessee who was planning an incident to drop a payload into a substation. You could imagine that at a larger scale and impacting or identifying more critical infrastructure from generation to substations, or even on the pipeline side, a liquid natural gas import-export facility.
So my district, the Permian Basin, 6 million barrels a day, needs to be protected, and the authorities, in some cases, as you recommended in your testimony, should be delegated to private companies, in some cases, to both identify and also mitigate if needed.
I think that energy infrastructure in your district should be considered to be protected. Now, how that gets to a place where we can do that as the private sector, there are probably steps to get there. We have great relationships with local, state, federal law enforcement, and are happy to take an intermediary step to work with them to ensure that we understand the technology, the appropriate technology is in place, and we can implement that technology in a future state.
Thank you. Dr. Schwinnesen, we'll go back to the services for a second and the race for technology. Let's focus on the Air Force, our alma mater, the Air Force Academy. How would you characterize the responses that we're seeing out of DOD, specifically the Air Force? Are they doing it fast? Is it neat in its approach? Or is it just average?
Yeah, right. I think it is below average, and it gives me no pleasure to say that, but I think we are not taking it seriously enough. Again, it is as if everyone sees the train coming, everyone agrees the train is coming, and yet no one is taking any steps to get out of its way. Everyone is assuming that somebody else is doing it, and there's just no sense of urgency or coherent activity to address this issue. And again, that's easy for me to say. It's easy for me to throw spears from the sidelines. But I do think that one of the things we can do is leverage our very good relationships we have with Ukraine. We've given them a lot of resources, and they are quite willing and eager to give us something back in return for it. We should be mopping that information up right now. We should be sending people there right now.
Thank you very much. My time's expired.